About 46 years ago, a new government took power in a certain African country. Okay? Members of the tribe of that person who had taken over power cheered. Yeah? Those who were against the previous regime cheered. Yeah? And they cheered this man down the streets. They celebrated. They were very happy. The name of that new leader was Idi Amin Dada. Okay? He was a military person, a general actually. Yeah? And he took over Uganda in a military coup. Okay? Uganda is just a neighboring country. Now what followed was the most horrific regime Africa has ever seen. Okay? Now, the Swahili have a saying, ukiona mwenzako ananyolewa, kichwa yako weka maji. Yeah? Loosely translated, when you see your neighbor being shaved, yeah, prepare yourself, put water on your head, prepare yourself to be shaved. Now, unfortunately, Kenyans did not think of this saying then. Indeed, even I, when I saw the movie that they removed years later, which was called The Rise and Fall of Idi Amin, incidentally, that the main character of Idi Amin was portrayed by a Kenyan, a man called Joseph Olita, the late Joseph Olita. He has now passed on, in one of the most convincing portrayals of that dictator. Okay? Now, it's very ironic. Yeah, Ugandan situation, Ugandan whatever, and in the whole world, they choose a Kenyan actor. Yeah, in fact, he wasn't an actor. His advantage, he was a replica. He was a very, very close lookalike to the dictator. Okay? All that is what under the bridge. However, today as I sit in Kenya, there are just too many similarities between the current evil Jubilee regime and the regime of Idi Amin Dada. And I kid you not. Yesterday, Maina Kiai, very famous human rights activist, was leaving the country and he was stopped and detained at the airport. For hours, he had to make calls to be released. Yes? So Kenyans, you cannot leave the country. Yeah? That's exactly what was happening in Uganda. Check. A few days earlier, Roselyn Akombe, who was a commissioner of the IEBC, was also trying to go out of the country on what she said was official business. Okay, now there's an interesting aside here that I must go into. Yeah? Now, Akombe said she was leaving the country on official business. Now, guess what the latest news is? The latest news is that Akombe may take up a UN job and leave IEBC. What? And we just chew on that. I might do a recording later on. Okay? So here's a government official trying to leave the country. She's stopped at the airport. Yeah? Similarities with government of Idi Amin Dada? Check. Now, something else during Idi Amin's reign of terror. Yeah? If anybody stood in his way, he was ruthlessly gotten rid of. Okay? Check. Because what has happened is that the bodies continue to pile up. Yeah? We continue to see strange deaths of former IEBC commissioners. Okay? And anybody connected with the elections. Okay? Now, we know that the current elections stand in the way of the current regime. Yes? We know currently that there's a case in the Supreme Court. Yes? And we know that for the IEBC announcement of Uhuru Kenyatta as the president to be overturned, the opposition has to produce evidence. Yes? So the evidence is what stands in the way between the most fraudulent election in the history of Kenya. Yeah, and justice. Now, the very badly mutilated body of Caroline Odiga, who was a deputy presiding officer of the IEBC somewhere in Siaya, was found yesterday. Okay, actually 2 days ago. Oh boy. Yeah. Now, this is really worrying. Okay, but listeners of this channel will know that I already told you almost a week ago that Kenya is already a police state. Kenya is a dictatorship. Okay? Now, the most dangerous thing about this dictatorship, Ugandans were a bit lucky. Now, I'll tell you how. Ugandans were a bit lucky in that all the cards were on the table. Yeah? They knew this is a military leadership. They knew this is a dictatorship. No excuses. Okay? Now, the problem we have in Kenya is that we have a dictatorship. We have military rule, but then it is being hidden under something called a democracy. Yeah, it is masquerading as a democracy. Now, why is that dangerous? It is dangerous because people have to be silenced, people have to be killed. Anybody who sees what is really happening must be removed. Okay, and we've already seen this. Okay, IEBC computer guru Chris Msando was not killed alone. Yes, a witness was killed. The lady was with him. Yes, and it's very interesting that some people, I told you where all the propaganda is coming from. Okay, you already know. Now, these people who are spreading propaganda have a new theory. They're still flogging like a dead horse. They're still flogging this love triangle theory. And the latest, somebody just pointed out one of these theories to me about an hour ago, and I almost threw up. That, oh, the CCTV footage shows Msando negotiating with somebody. Msando must have been negotiating with those people, the people who had been sent to kill him, blah, 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 blah. Hogwash. My apologies. I rarely use strong language in this. I hardly ever use strong language in this channel. But some things are just too much for me to stomach. Okay? Now, Kenyans, get this. Every senior IEBC officer is under 24-hour surveillance. Yeah? Especially into the general election. Okay? Yes. Now, of course, that makes sense. Any country would do that, yeah? Because you want to secure election, you don't want these people interfered with, yeah? Especially because Jubilee, you remember the run-up to the election? They were saying that the opposition has plans to rig the election, yes? So all the more reason to keep these people under surveillance. So if Msando was killed by anybody else except the government, it means that that person got through the government surveillance of Bwana Msando. Conclusion, it is very obvious who killed Msando. So obvious that if you don't see it, you have a problem. Now, there's a very interesting quote from Idi Amin Dada. Yeah? As I told you earlier on, he used to talk nicely. Yeah? When he's talking to the press, he'd say, oh, this is a very good dictator. He has no problem with people. He's a very nice man. Okay? One of his quotes went as follows. Freedom of speech is allowed. There's no problem with freedom of speech. Yeah? Talk whatever you want. You're free to talk. Yes? But then there's a small rejoinder. Yeah? Shall I say the small print? Freedom of speech is allowed, but freedom after speech is not guaranteed. Check. Isn't that exactly what we have in Kenya today? Now, I don't agree with a lot of what one blogger called Alai. Robert Alai. In fact, I know a lot of things about Robert Alai. When he was starting out, he actually got in touch with me. He was asking for advice, he was asking for direction, yeah, but all that is water under the bridge, yeah. And then the things he went on to do, I do not agree with them. His views, I do not agree. The way he operates online, I do not agree. However, I also do not agree with Robert Alai being arrested. For what? We have freedom of speech in this country. While I may not agree with him, he's free to say what he wants to say. Even if it irritates me, for example, as a person, even if it irritates other Kenyans, he has got freedom of speech. He has got the freedom to do whatever he wants to say. He's got freedom to do that. Now, Robert Alai was arrested at gunpoint. He was arrested by several goons of the government who turned up, blocked his car, and at gunpoint removed him from his car. Now, isn't that a replica of the government of Idi Amin Dada, dictator? Yeah, the person who led one of the most terrorizing regimes in the history of East Africa. Actually, the most terrorizing regime in the history of East Africa. Yeah, in Africa, we might have a little competition elsewhere. Yes? Gosh, what is our country coming to? Now, today, finally, the Nation carried an editorial, yeah, talking about how we are slipping back into the dark ages, yes, because a lot of people fought for the freedom we enjoy, the freedom of speech, yeah, a lot of people fought for that, but now clearly Yeah, we are sliding back to we're sliding back to a dictatorship, authoritarian government, yeah, which does not care for the rights of its people. Gosh. Now, most of you took in my earlier recording about the battle or the war against social media, okay? And you remember the explanation I gave you that this excuse that social media incites is rubbish, because the kind of people who use social media are not the people to be incited. Yeah, it's not the poor person. Yeah, in fact, social media is for rich Kenyans. Yeah, and middle income. You know, the kind of people who have brains, they'll not be incited easily. Yeah, so this is an excuse. The government wants to control how you think. Okay, because why should you interfere with people's privacy in social media? Yeah, why? Give me a good reason why. Unless you just want to control the thinking of people. And that's not all. The government has its agents online who force you to think the way they want you to think. That latest ridiculous theory about the murder of Msando came from one of these people who have been put online to make you think in a certain way. Yeah? And believe you me, it is effective. Because today as I speak, as I make this recording, many Kenyans are fast asleep. Wake up. Amka. Kumekucha. Amka. Wake up. It's daylight. Yeah? While our country has already slid into a dictatorship, we're busy promoting our tribes. Oh, our tribe is ruling. Oh, our tribe blah, 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 blah. Yeah? We're asleep. Now I can hear somebody outside there. In fact, I can see them complaining and saying, oh, Chris, you're being ridiculous. There's no dictatorship because we have elections every 5 years. Thank you for that comment. Let me answer directly. What election are you talking about? Are you talking about the election whereby the winner has already been decided? Are you talking about the election where it is already fixed well in advance? Yes. And however we vote, the person who is supposed to be elected is put well in advance? Oh boy. I can assure you, already the person to be elected after Uhuru Kenyatta leaves office has been earmarked. Open your eyes and you'll see who it is. It's not William Ruto. Yeah? It is somebody who's been groomed for that office. It is somebody who came third in the presidential elections. Yeah, find out who came third and you'll get the identity of the person who's being groomed next. So what elections are you talking about? Everything is pre-arranged. 5 years from now has already been organized. And then of course we keep on being brainwashed by all sorts of things. Now, the timing, let me just give you a very recent example. The timing of a so-called biography by a former IEBC chairman, Isaac Hassan, stinks to the high heavens. Okay? Now the person has published a book where he's blaming his everything on the loser who could not accept loss of election. You know who he's referring to? He's referring to Raila Odinga. Yeah? And in his book, in one section he says, in a country with no culture of conceding electoral defeat. What? In 2002, Uhuru lost to Kibaki and he conceded defeat. The late Martin Shikuku lost elections in very, very mysterious circumstances. He conceded defeat, and so on and so forth. Who says there's no culture of accepting electoral defeat? But of course we know, tunajua ni nani we know who they're hunting for. Yes? So the whole thing about releasing this book is so that the image in the outside Kenya and those people don't know is that Raila Odinga always loses elections, and therefore that's the reason why Isaac Hassan was taken out of the IEBC. Now he was replaced by somebody else. Raila still lost. You see that rhetoric? Well, let me tell you for free. Raila Odinga did not lose the election in 2007. Raila Odinga did not lose the election in 2013. And worst of all, Raila Odinga won the election in 2017 by a landslide. He did not lose. But because Kenya is now an Idi Amin Dada dictatorship, you will be told different things. Okay? And you just believe what you want to believe. Drink in all the propaganda you want to drink in. Continue supporting your tribe. Continue doing what you're doing. Yeah? But as I always say, I will remind you. Remember the country you're leaving behind for your children. I'll not say more on that. Let us see how far this tribe thing will take your children. Now, I'd like to inform you that I've received threats, thinly veiled threats, okay? And I would like to say that if anything happens to me, I did not commit suicide, yeah? I'm not involved in any love triangle, yes? It should be pretty obvious, okay? Let me just leave it at that. Now, for the rest of us, let us wake up. Let us have 100,000 Kumekuchas. Okay? Let us have 1 million Raila Odingas. Okay? Because this man is not a coward. And this man is not a loser. Yeah? Put aside the propaganda. Just go back in history and study the life of Raila Odinga. What he has been involved in. Yeah? Just go back and study. And stop being lazy, where propaganda that is fed to you, you just stick it in hook, line, and sinker. Yeah, read for yourself. Think. You know, I get the idea sometimes that people, they fear to think because they think when they think they'll feel. It's like when they think, their brain feels pain. And this is why the propaganda peddlers are taking full advantage of you. You'll swallow anything without thinking, without examining, without interrogating. Oh boy. May 1 million Kumekuchas rise up outside there. Yeah? Because I'm not interested in any fame. I'm not interested in anything else except a better Kenya. And if that a better Kenya is achieved through somebody else, I really don't care. I don't want to be recognized. I'm not interested in being recognized. I'm interested in a better Kenya. Yes? And I'm sure it's the same with Raila Odinga. He's not interested in being recognized. If he was interested in being recognized, the things that people have said about the man, oh, you would not have been able to take it up by this time. Okay? Now, I know a lot of you may be listening to this and saying, finally, Chris, you have shown your true colors, you're NASA. Actually, I don't care. Yeah? I'm talking about a Kenyan. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you want to think. If you want to label me NASA, so be it. I really don't care. Yeah, it doesn't matter, does it? Because our country is going to the dogs. When our country is going to the dogs, do you think I'll worry about a petty thing like being labeled a supporter of a certain side? And anyway, you know, there's a view which also the propaganda has brought in, and this view is that Jubilee and NASA are equal. Yes, they're equal in power. NASA can rig the election. Jubilee can also rig the election. Kenya is an interesting country. Okay? It's hogwash. Jubilee is in power, NASA is the opposition. When you're in power, you cannot be equal to the party which is in opposition. How? You control the military, you control everything. Yeah? And in every country, people do not write supporting the government. They always write from the opposition point of view. Because the government in power is the one which is supposed to be interrogated, not the opposition. But in Kenya, a very unique country, we're interrogating the opposition and they're not in power. Anyway, I cannot absolve myself. I was sucked into that conspiracy. Yes, and my recordings have always been taking the two sides. I've always been neutral. You know, I'm not supporting the government. I'm not supporting opposition. I'm in the middle because government and opposition have the same power. Even opposition can rig elections. Oh boy. So folks, you all need to be careful. We all need to be very, very careful because we are living in a dictatorial regime. Kenya is now in the days of Idi Amin Dada. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.